In 2005, Rader was convicted of killing 10 people between the years of 1974 and 1991. And we can assume Kohberger likely studied the BTK murders at length. But did he ever actually have contact with Dennis Rader directly? Or did Rader ever perhaps reach out and contact him? I am joined now by Dennis Rader's daughter, Kerri Rawson. She is also the author of the book, A Serial Killer's Daughter. Kerri is really someone who has overcome unimaginable tragedy. She is now a voice for other victims. She is truly a survivor in every sense of the word. And Kerri, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. You and I spoke in January, and I talked to you about whether or not Bryan Kohberger had any contact with your dad. Have you learned anything new since then?
Since we spoke early in January, a couple outlets reached out to my father through a jail app called Getting Out, which I didn't know my dad had, so I had time to deal with that. And they texted him basically, and my dad said no on contact with Kohberger. But he's been then interviewed a few times by some outlets, giving opinions, on the Kohberger case and comparing like his situation early on in prison with Kohberger. So as far as we know, my father hasn't had direct contact with Kohberger, but we don't have proof either way. And because my father likes to play games and is a pathological liar, and he likes the attention from the media, it's impossible to say right now.
Do you think he's lying, Kerri?
I think on this, he probably is telling the truth, but he does definitely like the attention that's come back up from it. And he's going to do whatever in his power to keep people on the line, to keep coming back to contact him. That's a typical game my father plays with the media.
It's interesting. He gave this statement to another news outlet where he said, since I spent from February 2005 to April 2005 in a cell by myself, I know how he feels, referring to Kohberger. It's just interesting that he is now thinking and talking about Kohberger, who likely studied him.
Yeah, I mean, my father has access to TV, radio, newspapers, magazines. So I'm definitely sure he's keeping up with all of this. He's keeping up probably with me. He likes to sort of compete with me in the media. It's kind of all just a big mess. When my father was in jail, the county jail, Sedgwick County Jail, from February through June, and actually through August, until he was sentenced to 177 years. Then he was sent to the El Dorado Correction Facility prison. As far as I know, he's been in solitary since he's been in there. So I don't know what he's talking about being alone, because actually when he was in jail, he had access to other people in jail. He was playing cards with them. He said he was kind of like trying to control the room. And then when he was sent to prison, he was in solitary. I believe he's still in solitary. So I don't exactly know what he's talking about being alone versus now.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he's sort of comparing his situation to how Kohberger must feel. It's kind of eerie, I guess is a way to describe it. What's your relationship with your dad like now? Last time we talked, I know you said that you had pretty much cut off all communication.
Yeah, so I was very close to my dad growing up. He was like my best friend. We went camping and hiking. He walked me down the aisle when I got married in '03. He moved me to Michigan right after that. Then 18 months later, we found out he was arrested as a BTK killer. Since then, I've only been in contact with him via letters. I've never visited him in prison, and I couldn't handle phone calls even. We were in contact off and on, and then in the spring of 2021, I had to legally cut him off with a do not contact order. I worked with victim services in Kansas, KDOC, and police detectives in Wichita and the prison, and they all helped me. I had to cut my father off because he was cyber stalking me through third-party people that were contacting me through social media and email. It was just getting to be a safety issue. They were trying to figure out where I lived. They were calling my dad. They would see me, like, say they see me tonight on media, somebody's probably going to contact my dad tomorrow and say, hey, I saw her. And it got to be where it was becoming a safety issue for me and my family. And so victim services stepped in and helped me.
Yeah, and we know that there are people now contacting Kohberger and sending love letters and all sorts of twisted things. And you talk about your dad being in contact with so many people who are then even able to find you. I mean, how does this all happen behind the scenes? I guess I would just assume a serial killer doesn't have that kind of access.
Well, any prisoner has human rights still. So my father has the right to correspondence. He has the right to phone calls. He has the right to TV and things like that. Now he has to earn those rights. They use these because for somebody that's a lifer or on death row, you have to have some sort of incentive to get them to behave or they won't. So they use these things to get them to behave. Hey, you can earn mail. You can earn the right to these apps. There isn't a lot that can be done because there's so much mail coming in, so much mail coming out. And if you think about every other need a prison has, like a love letter has got to be the bottom concern on these, officers' parts that have such a challenging job already. And I don't know if there's a lot that can be done, unfortunately. I mean, it's really up to the individual person to make that decision not to contact these people. But it's been going on for decades.
It's just unfortunate with everything that you went through, that your dad put you through, that then you had to go through that in terms of, him being in contact with other people from prison who then were stalking you. It's really kind of unbelievable. I want to talk about, though, Kohberger's professor, Dr. Catherine Ramsland. Dr. Ramsland wrote the biography on your dad, but didn't just write a biography, and I'll have you explain this, but had this pretty extensive relationship with him, visits, got special permission from the court to be able to go in and develop this relationship with him. And this just so happens to be the same professor who taught Kohberger when he was getting his criminology degree. What do you make of that? I mean, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that they have this person in common.
It's a lot. I mean, it's been 18 years since he was arrested, and it's sort of like this never-ending nightmare in some ways. I was absolutely relieved when they announced an arrest for Idaho, and then within 30 minutes, Twitter was saying, hey, Dr. Ramsland was Kohberger's professor for his master's degree at DeSales University in criminal justice. I mean, she teaches a class on serial killers called Dangerous Minds. So she would have been teaching on my father to Kohberger, and Kohberger has a criminal justice degree and my father has one. And in hindsight, I was like, why was I not looking when I was looking at this case at criminal justice students, But with Ramsland, she's had a multi-year friendship and working relationship with my father. So they got permission to write a book together, basically. So she would visit him, send letters. They played chess through letters, phone calls. She just researched him. And even for him to trust her, she had to play like cryptology games with him and code games and things. And they sort of built up this colleague relationship. And then they basically wrote this book together. So when it came out in 2016, then I literally had to take the book back into therapy to process it. And it took me 6 weeks to read it. And I literally was like underlining it, throwing it across the room to just deal with like this new information that was coming out on my father and his cases.
In terms of your relationship with her, though, because, I find her to be very interesting because she was always accessible to the media. We've actually interviewed her here on NewsNation before the Idaho killings. She's had a number of documentaries and been all over several networks over the years. But now she has been totally silent since the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. What do you make of that?
Well, it could be a few different things. Maybe she is being asked to be a witness in the upcoming trial. Maybe the FBI is asking her to be quiet. Maybe it's more just a university relationship out of respect. Maybe they've been asked not to talk about it. I do know, like right now, her statement is still, I'm not commenting. There's been some chatter. Is she going to write a book about this? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see.
You've said before with the book that he appears to relish being interviewed and continuing to play games at others' expense, including my family's. So obviously you had an issue with that book. I mean, did she ever reach out to you? And do you think that she was teaching Kohberger specifically about your dad?
Well, she would have had to cover my dad in at least her Dangerous Minds class. I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't, because she's basically a worldwide expert on my father. So it doesn't make any sense for her not to teach my father and to teach him more than, say, possibly other professors, would concentrate on him, because she has this vast knowledge of my father and inside access to him. Starting in 2014, my dad actually contacted me through a letter, said, "Hey, Dr. Ramsland wants to work with you. She's writing a book. I want you to work on this." And I said, "No, I'm trying to figure out my own way here. I'm not going to work with her." I kept my distance. I issued a victim's impact statement in 2016 when the book came out. I kept going into therapy, and then I worked on my own memoir, which was my story, which was therapeutic. I've only met her once, doing media in New York City. She had reached out, and we kind of had a working colleague relationship, but over the last years, that's faded, partly because I'm not comfortable with somebody like her having access privately to me when she still possibly has access to my father.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if, given her relationship also with Kohberger, which clearly existed, like you said, she taught him and now is being totally silent. Do you think she could be, reaching out to him, sort of thinking of her next book, the way that she reached out to your dad?
Oh, I didn't think about that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but she definitely follows, a code of ethics. So I would say if she's being asked to be a witness or expects to be a witness, or she's trying to make sure her relationship with the university stays above the line, I would be surprised if she's contacting Kohberger, but I did not think about that. So that's going to be interesting to see if that does happen.
Do you see similarities between your dad and Kohberger? Because I know you've been following the Kohberger case very, very closely. I follow you on Twitter. Do you see anything that they have in common?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they both committed their first murders. Well, we believe these are Kohberger's first murders. We don't know for sure. When they were 28, they both killed 4. My father entered a house not expecting all 4 people to be there. He left 3 survivors, but they weren't home. I don't believe Kohberger entered the house to kill 4. I think he maybe only was wanting the 2 on the 3rd floor, Maddie and Kaylee, or maybe even just Maddie. I don't know. That's just a theory on my part. They were both criminology students. Now their MOs are different. My father primarily used strangulation. Kohberger allegedly used a knife. But the criminology aspect of being a student and having the trust of your professors and having access to data and like the Reddit study, it's all very concerning. I mean, I know it's rare for a criminology student to do this, but it really bothers me because I didn't even think of that aspect. And then, here he was like my father, and, I missed it.
Well, you just have such an interesting perspective on all of these cases because of, growing up with who you grew up with. Obviously, you didn't know anything. But it's just interesting that the way you said it, you were disappointed because you didn't spot it. Do you feel like you almost have an obligation to spot these things because of your own history?
I think it's more, I feel like survivor's guilt and like, almost like I have to offset my father because he did 31 years of terror. I mean, he caused 31 years of terror to my hometown. So I've said before, I feel like I've got to offset that. So I've got to go do 30 years of good. And then when did that start? So I was just like joking about that the other day. Like, when did that start? But everybody says, don't put that on your shoulders. And, you don't have to carry the world and save the world. But I feel like I had to make a decisive decision what to do with my life after everything that happened. And I had to decide to live. And then I had to decide, what am I going to do with this life? Because I only have one life. I can't go back and change it. So I started, trying to do some good and help people and advocate. I've started learning how to profile a little bit and speak up. So honestly, the Kohberger case was really the first time I've started trying to apply my knowledge now to something, because if I can speak up and educate, then maybe we can catch these guys quicker. Maybe we can stop them before they do what they did.
And what you've also shown the world is that family members of these killers are victims too, and then turn into survivors like you. What would you say to Bryan Kohberger's parents and sister?
Just to keep taking things a day at a time or less, focus on living, like make a decisive decision. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? Even if that's just to do the dishes or the laundry, or to normalize, like, okay, I'm going to go to a movie, or I'm going to go out to a restaurant, just decide what you're going to do with all this, because you can get stuck. You can get stuck in the trauma, and you can get stuck in the what ifs and what I should have known and what did I miss. And then it's a grief process. So it's the same as they've lost their son. And almost always, I understand they can still contact him, but they're still grieving the loss of their son. So you have to allow yourself to grieve and go through those steps, of shock and sadness and bargaining, and then in coming to terms. And honestly, it's been 18 years and I'm still coming to terms with it.
Yeah, and I remember after Bryan Kohberger was arrested, and I went to Pennsylvania, and I went up to his family's house and knocked on the door in the night, which just my reporter inclination was to do that. I can't help it, And you contacted me and just reminded me like that was you at one point in a house like that, which was a really interesting perspective. And I always think about that now, that you were sitting there. And got that knock on the door.
Yeah, so my father was arrested on a Friday afternoon. I was notified in Detroit, Michigan. The FBI notified us Friday night that my father was confessing. I was arguing with them. I was like, what is he confessing to? Because I was still I literally was on Google trying to alibi my father, trying to find these dates. 7 of his murders were before I was born. I was still trying to alibi my father. And then they said, hey, look, we found his souvenirs that he took from these victims underneath your floorboards. And I was like, what? So they actually did a kindness to my family to tell us more than the media was saying. So we knew more as a family than the public did. Within like 24 hours, cameras were in our apartment hallway. They're, already with the camera on, the lights on, knocking, so that when you open the door, you're on camera without permission. I remember clearly cowering in my hallway. I was dealing with PTSD. I was in shock, literally shaking for 5 days after I found out. I was literally cowering in my hallway while media was out in the outer hallway. And at the time, my husband said, go away. And so then we had to call the police and they had to come manage it. So, yeah, I mean, as we talked about before, media has a responsibility and a job to get the story. So I understand now this far out that side of it, but I also think there's better ways to do it.
What would you say to the victims' families in the Idaho murders with the perspective that you have in terms of being the daughter of a killer? What does that make you feel for the victims?
I mean, it's really, really difficult to think about what Kohberger allegedly did to those 4 people and the 2 survivors, what he's put them through and what they have to live with. And then knowing what he's put those 4 families through to some degree. I mean, I'm not in their shoes, but their whole lives are impacted. It's a generational impact. I mean, he's taken 4 young people that had all this potential. He's taken away their chance if they wanted to be married, if they wanted to have children. That's all gone. I mean, any impact they would have had on the world alive is gone. And it's just because somebody did the most insane thing you can think of, And my father, he did this 7 times. He went and did this, and then he would come home and have dinner. And then a couple years later or whatever, he would go out and do this again. And then he would come back home. I mean, it doesn't register to anybody normal that people do this. It doesn't, you could study it your whole life and you cannot wrap your head around it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Kerri, stay with us. We know you're a huge advocate for the families of suspects, as you just said, the Murdaughs of South Carolina, another case that you've been following closely. They fall into that category too. Some of Alex Murdaugh's family members who have been harassed, frankly, lately. Tonight, we're making news again. It seems not all of Alex Murdaugh's surviving relatives are convinced he didn't do it. We'd like to hear what you think about that and some other big cases. We're going to talk more to Kerri and talk about that when we come back. Alex Murdaugh is paying the price for the murders he's been convicted of, but it's pretty obvious that other Murdaughs who haven't been convicted of anything, they are now paying the price too. Randy Murdaugh, Alex's older brother, tells the New York Times that he's been in torment since the murders happened and still believes, quote, that Alex knows more than what he is saying. Randy says he's not telling the truth about everything there. That's what he said about his brother. Not knowing is the worst thing there is, Randy says. And while he hoped he would stop thinking about it after the trial, quote, that has not been the case. For Buster Murdaugh, Alex's surviving son, the 24/7 media glare hasn't stopped either. Buster filed a police report after seeing a photo of himself inside his home on Hilton Head in the New York Post. I'm back with Kerri Rawson, daughter of the notorious serial killer Dennis Rader, known as BTK. I want to ask you about this Buster Murdaugh police report, Kerri, because, again, you have an interesting perspective about what he may be going through. And, of course, there are a lot of questions. People have a lot of questions about whether he was involved in other things. At this point, we don't have proof of that. And it certainly seems inappropriate that someone would be shooting him, taking pictures of him through the window of him in his house.
Yeah, I think right now people need to leave him and his family alone if they're not wanting to do media. I mean, Buster clearly is asking for respect and privacy right now, because we don't know his involvement anywhere else. He's innocent until proven guilty, and nothing's even been alleged or charged here. I mean, we have to respect him and understand he is a victim. No matter what involvement he maybe has, which is just pure speculation at this point. He lost his mother and his brother in this violent, horrific crime, and then sat there in court for weeks and had to listen to details down to what happened to his brother's brains. And then had to be on the stand and watch his father go on the stand. And now his father's been sent to 2 life sentences. I mean, it's so much, I mean, I went through so much, but my family wasn't prominent. My father confessed the first night. So we knew he was guilty. I mean, Buster's probably still grappling with, is his father even guilty, along with the other family? If he's asking for something to the point that he's having to file a police report, he needs to be respected right now. He needs time to process and grieve. And when he's ready to talk, he will. It took me 10 years. I mean, sometimes people don't talk and they have that every right to never talk. But when he's ready, he will.
And in terms of the brother now talking and not going as far to say that he thinks Alex murdered Paul and Maggie, but saying that something seems off here. His other brother, I don't think is at that point, has stood by him. Buster has stood by him. I mean, for you personally, what did it take to come to terms with the truth and accepting it?
Oh, Lord. It's tiny little pieces, because when you're talking about these massive cases, I mean, it took 10 years for me to even talk about it. I still couldn't say BTK out loud. I was whispering it in therapy. I was already speaking up in the media. I didn't even really know my father's cases that well. I literally became national news, and then I had to go back in therapy and walk a true crime book by the Wichita Eagle into therapy in 2015. And I spent 6 months going through this book line by line. And I even had to do it out of order, because I had to process the ones that happened when I was a little girl and then go back to the 70s. So it took me months of therapy, 10 years after my father's arrest, to even start really dealing down to the details of what my father did. And still, any new detail that comes out, like say when I found out my father has a gel app, I have to process that. So when I heard about Dr. Ramslet, I have to process that. I have CPTSD. I will go on alert. I will be sick, nauseated, dealing with all of that stuff. And then on my own, still try to be a mom, still try to have a life, and, try to be an advocate and everything else. So when you're talking about coming to terms, it's not a one-time thing. It's tiny little pieces over a very long time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think, with your dad, can you compartmentalize? Can he still be a good dad and the dad that you remember, and then also a serial killer? Or does it all become one thing? Like I'm thinking with the Murdaughs, can they still love him for the dad that he was in the good times? Or do you just have to shut it all out?
No, I mean, compartmentalize is a great word for it, and it's something my father said he did. Like he calls it cubing, where he's showing you if he's dad, or BTK was a term he came up with Dr. Ramslet. Most of the time, everyday life, he's my dad. And then when something comes up, or I'm talking about him, or I'm trying to educate, then he's BTK. When I was deep in therapy, processing exactly down to the details of my father's crimes, for a little while, he was only BTK. And then I had to go back and write and find my father. So that was one of the reasons I did write, was to go back and find my dad. I'm far enough along now that I have both, like dad and BTK, but I prefer to just think of him as my dad. Really, the whole thing, I prefer to just call him my dad.
Yeah. Well, Kerri, I can't say enough about you and just how inspiring you are, and you show people what humans are capable of overcoming, and you're such a good person, and you help so many people, and I just really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, be sure to check out Kerri's book, A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. She truly is really just a very inspirational woman.